it wasn't until these examples surfaced in my life where I had friends asking me for this kind of help that I started to consider that maybe mindset itself is a privilege. One that if you don't acknowledge and understand, you'll end up giving advice from a very privileged place. You know, I might say, well, just work harder, just cheer up.
Yeah.
These kinds of things come from like a misunderstanding that my brain is fortunate enough to think and be a certain way.
Yeah.
But I've never heard people talk enough about this idea that our mindset in and of itself is a privilege, and that, you know.
That's interesting. That mindset is a privilege. Is that true?
If we think about the early upbringing in childhood then.
Yeah.
So that was maybe, you know, some people have monetary privilege from their childhood. One thing that your parents or your experiences might have given you is a real psychological privilege.
So let me just think out loud for a second, right? Let me try and unpack that. You know, there are many stories of people who, when the odds were against them, whether they came from extreme poverty or abuse, rose up to have successful and happy lives, right? And when we read about them or talk to them or meet them or hear interviews from them, they talk about mindset. They talk about, my mother taught, usually the mother, like my mother taught me that to never be a victim. My mother taught me that I was capable of anything. And so they had a mindset, where some people have a victim mindset and then that's the life they continue to live. Some people have a different mindset, and it can lift them out of what we would consider unprivileged circumstances, right? So, you know, it makes me question then, is mindset a privilege? And we both know people that have every privilege afforded to them, you know, every one of them. And yet, for whatever reason, their mindset is the wrong one, and they can squander all of that opportunity, all of those advantages that they've been afforded, you know, and make a mess. So I question whether mindset is a privilege.